Welcome back to the PFF NFL show and day 3 coverage of free agency here in 2026. I guess technically, Dalton, day 1, right? Because Monday and Tuesday, the legal tampering period or the negotiating period, whatever they're calling it now. So technically, this is our day 1 episode of free agency because it's on a Wednesday. And this is going to be day 1 of the league new year once 4 p.m. Eastern comes around. We're obviously live here on this show before 4 p.m., but we still got plenty to talk about because as we both predicted at the end of yesterday's live stream, the second we were going to get off the air, something major was going to break. And the second we got off the air, didn't we get Geno? It was Geno and then something else. There were 2 moves immediately once we got off of the stream. What was the other one?
The Romeo Doubs signing.
Yes. We were talking about Romeo Doubs. We were talking about some landing spots there with the chat, but we knew that would happen. So, of course, that's probably going to happen again today because that's always what happens here. But we still got plenty to talk about. Obviously, we have the Max Crosby trade fallout. Trey Hendrickson now going to the Baltimore Ravens. But I do want to start out with the Daniel Jones contract because this just happened about 20 minutes before we went live here on this show. Daniel Jones getting a 2-year deal worth $88 million, $50 million in fully guaranteed right at signing, and can go up to a $100 million contract for him. So obviously the Colts wanted to make sure that they got a deal done with him. Now there was sort of some worry with Indianapolis that, man, since they tagged Jones, were they going to be able to bring Alec Pierce back? They bring Pierce back. They trade away Michael Pittman Jr. It gives them the flexibility to now get a short term. I'll call it a short term. It's not a 1-year deal, but it's a short term deal, a 2-year deal done here with Daniel Jones. Dalton, your thoughts overall about prioritizing Jones the way that the Colts have? He's coming off of that Achilles injury. There's no guarantee that he'll be 100% by week 1, but clearly they went all in on a quarterback who got them to a really, really good record before he ended up getting hurt. Your thoughts overall on how we got to this point with Jones?
I think it's a very, very good deal for Jones, right? You talk about 2 years and 88 with incentives up to $150 million guaranteed. Another $10 million is injury guaranteed for 2027. I think if you're the Colts, the best way that it feels like I can put this is you're committing to the bit, right? It worked. You went 8-2 with Daniel Jones on the field. You traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, and realistically, with Kyler Murray at least expected to be heavily in negotiations with Minnesota, Geno Smith going to the Jets, you just ran out of other viable options, and the trust that you have in Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen's offense is really what drives you to do this, right? But I think when you look at this Colts team, I have a lot of concerns. Look, I mean, Daniel Jones is coming off a torn Achilles. Did he play solid football last year? Yeah, but we even saw in his last 2 or 3 games that he started to struggle, and then the second half of the year, the run game with Jonathan Taylor really slowed down. And you look at the rest of their team, it's basically either squared off or at certain positions worse off than they were last year. Michael Pittman is gone, traded out of there. Their defensive line is very, very thin beyond DeForest Buckner and Leatu Latu. They have basically nothing at linebacker right now. Nick Cross is still a free agent at safety. So there is a ton of work to do, I think, to even get to the point where they were last year. So, I mean, they have to try to build a winner with Daniel Jones without first-round picks this year and next year. The Jets have both of those from the Sauce Gardner trade, but they need Jones to be healthy and as productive as he was the first half of last year, or this could, to me, I look at this as it's not risky as far as Jones because we basically know what Daniel Jones is at this point in his career, but I don't know that this team is even built as well as they were last year, and they just kind of have to commit to it and try to build around him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of people are freaking out about this morning. I saw you tweeting this out, and I don't think that you're wrong when you said that Daniel Jones is on the Kirk Cousins track of career earnings for what he's giving these teams in return, which is probably not worth the value and the total money that he has signed with career contracts. But hey, I don't think the Colts really had a choice. I think a lot of people might look at this situation and independently say, oh my gosh, how are you giving Daniel Jones all that money? You know, he was sort of, you broke it down there. Like, yeah, he was a fit for Steichen, but the wheels were starting to come off even before the injury there for him. Now you throw in the Achilles injury. How much is he going to be able to be somebody who can utilize his legs, which has been a big part of his career moving, what's he going to be moving forward, essentially? But what were the Colts going to do? Who else is out there? Some people were like, oh, you could have given Kyler Murray the vet minimum. Not really. The Colts weren't really in a situation to do that. They tagged Jones. They weren't going to do that.
And this is the problem. I wonder on that front, because I think Murray could have fit. I think Tua could have fit this offense, especially the way Shane Steichen runs it. The fact that they gave the transition tag to Jones and had already guaranteed him $37 million.
That's what I'm saying.
They were locked in at that point, right? I mean, so I think it's just the problem is they didn't even give themselves a chance to possibly look at cheaper alternatives, right, who could give them equal or maybe even better football than Jones. Giving him the transition tag was almost the mistake here, because nobody at this price, nobody else was going to give Daniel Jones this coming off of the Achilles tear, and obviously a good stretch of football, maybe the best stretch of football that he's played, but still only maybe above average football. I think that's where they really got locked in here. If they hadn't tagged him, I'd be very curious to see if this would have been the team that maybe would have gone and gotten Tua for the vet minimum, right? Like you mentioned. And then you could really build up the rest of this team. The problem now is between Sauce Gardner being the second highest paid cornerback in football, DeForest Buckner, the money he's making, Quentin Nelson, what he's making, Alec Pierce, now Daniel Jones, you're not left with a ton of resources to build the rest of a team with a lot of flaws. The front seven on defense needs major improvement. They need one more receiver. I think that's going to maybe be an emphasis on day 2 of the draft without a first-round pick. There are holes on this team, and I think when you look at them as currently constructed, they better nail this draft somehow without a first-round pick, because they could really go into 2026 looking like a flawed roster.
And I think that a lot of people, like I see people in the chat talking about this. I saw people on social media talking about this as well. They're like, well, you could have not tagged Jones. The problem is that both of the guys who are making the decisions here, and Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, likely on the hot seat. Like, they have to win this year. You traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner last year. You're all in. Like, I totally agree with you. The team's not as complete as their record would have even told you, midway through the year last year, even before the Sauce Gardner trade, but certainly now going into the season, it's not this complete roster where you look at them in the same way that you look at the Los Angeles Rams, thinking that they're going to be these Super Bowl favorites or the favorites to come out of the AFC. But the 2 guys who are making the decision here, they have to have a quarterback. They have to win this upcoming season, or they're not going to have jobs next year. So, sure, you could have told yourself, they didn't have to tag Jones. But there's a reality where if you don't tag Jones, maybe you get left at the altar completely by all of the quarterbacks. Let's say Kyler picks the Minnesota Vikings, and he would have picked the Vikings over the Colts anyways. Maybe Tua picks the Atlanta Falcons over the Colts anyways. Who knows? The connections that he has there. Maybe he likes that situation a little bit better in Atlanta. So the reason why I think they did what they did is because clearly they were negotiating with Alec Pierce, and they felt decent about getting a long-term deal done there. But it's also the flexibility of knowing that they had probably in the back of their mind and were planning out to move on from Michael Pittman Jr. as well. So that flexibility all goes into you taking the risk with Alec Pierce instead of taking the risk with the quarterback. Because if there was a reality where you don't tag him, he doesn't come back, you don't get any other good quarterback out there, you're signing your own death warrant right there. Like, you're basically just saying, well, we're about to go, 8-9, whatever it is, and we're all about to get fired anyway. So they kind of had to do it like this. I think that there are other options out there for quarterback that are intriguing to think about with the Colts, but in the reality of what was their situation, given the timeline of the 2 guys who are making decisions, I kind of think that this was just the only option for them. And in reality, bringing Jones back, bringing Alec Pierce back, and being able to move off of Michael Pittman Jr., kind of the best realistic case scenario for what the Colts were going to do. At least that's what I think about this situation.
No, I agree. I mean, the safe option was to keep Jones, right? And they could guarantee that at least with the transition tag, because I don't think another team was going well above $37 million or to this contract with him, right? If they had let Jones test the open market and he ended up somewhere else, I think somebody like Kirk Cousins would have been their quarterback. And honestly, the end result of that then might not be that different. But I think it just shows you now it shows you now the continued risk of that Sauce Gardner trade. And it's nothing about Gardner. He's still one of the best cornerbacks in football, maybe the best. But giving up that many assets for him when you kind of probably jumped the gun on what you thought you were as a contender, the word is stuck to me. It feels like the Colts are just stuck with this at this point. I think this contract, when you look at the 2 sides of this is a major win for Daniel Jones. I mean, he just made $50 million for 10 solid games and then tore his Achilles, right? I mean, I think that's a major win for the player here more so than the team.
I mean, he wasn't going to make more money elsewhere. So, if they were in a situation where they were always prepared to like offer him this contract, maybe you didn't have to tag him. But for Jones, I agree with you. It's a massive win for him. We've got a super chat here, which gets us into the next major conversation that we've had over the last 24 hours. And that's from Troy, $2 super chat, said, what's the most likely outcome for Max Crosby now? So just to get people up to speed, the Baltimore Ravens backing out of the Max Crosby deal that included 2 first-round picks to send Max Crosby from the Raiders to the Baltimore Ravens. It's a couple of days after that was announced that was happening, and according to the reports, that Max Crosby failed the physical, or the physical did not look as good as the Ravens wanted it to for the first-round investment. And then it's very interesting, Dalton, that Max Crosby's deal gets voided, and all of a sudden, Trey Hendrickson signs with the Baltimore Ravens for a number that is south of the $30 million per year range that Hendrickson and his camp were kind of thinking, or at least, again, that was reported, what they were thinking they were going to get, somewhere between $30-35 million a year. It ends up being $28 million a year for Trey Hendrickson. We'll talk about the Ravens side of this and sort of the business end of it in a second. I think the most likely outcome now is that Max Crosby plays for the Raiders. I don't think he gets traded at this point. It's a really weird situation where he got dealt unofficially for the price of 2 first-round picks, which is what the Raiders and John Spytek were probably looking for all along. They found a team that was willing to do that. With the Ravens being the team that they chose to agree to the deal, I likely believe that they were the only team to offer 2 first-round picks. Now, it totally complicates things. Now you're getting back into the conversations with teams that weren't willing to give up 2 first-round picks anyways, and now you have negative leverage when it comes to, well, you just tried to do the deal for 2 first-round picks, and he just failed the physical with that team, so why would I give you 2 first-round picks about him? So I just don't feel as though the Raiders are going to move on from him, because I don't think any other team out there is going to give them the 2 first-round picks that they were looking for, especially now coming off of this failed physical. And, Crosby's camp has already come out and say, like, hey, nothing has changed. His outlook is no worse than what it was previously reported. The Ravens were made well aware of exactly where he is in his recovery timeline. So, again, that's what goes into maybe the fishiness of the Ravens and how they went about this, which we'll get into in a second. But Dalton, I think he's playing on the Raiders. As long as this does not seriously affect their ability to fulfill the agreements they had with prospects over the last 2 days, which were you're totally revamping the defense, bringing in Tyler Linderbaum, Jalen Naylor as well, right? Like a lot of guys who are going to change what the look of this Raiders team was. As long as they can do all of those things, I think Max Crosby's still on this team next year. I think that his most likely outcome is that he's a Raider.
By all accounts, it's not going to affect any of those signings at all. The Raiders had so much cap space that they could afford to keep Crosby anyway. So I think there's multiple angles of looking at this. Number one, it is certainly not a bad thing to have Max Crosby on your team as long as you can repair the relationship of already basically trading him and now having him back. And it's been kind of contentious between him and the front office, especially since, November, December, right? So you're talking about still one of the best players in football. And now, you mentioned it, you got 2 new linebackers, you got multiple defensive linemen, you got Eric Stokes back, you're trying to build this defense up, and then you're also building the offense up, the offensive line with Linderbaum, you're going to draft Fernando Mendoza. Like, there is some hope here for the Raiders that they could be better pretty soon as long as they can continue, especially in this draft, even without the 14th overall pick. If they can continue to nail the draft, then you feel good about where they're at. Where we are with Crosby now is right back where we were, say, 2 weeks ago before this trade went down. They don't have to trade him. They have a high asking price. I don't know that they're going to get 2 first-round picks for him. They probably won't. The issue for John Spytek and company now is that they have lost a chunk of leverage. Before, they had all of the leverage to wait, and they did it, man. They got a good offer from the Bears. They got a good offer from Dallas. They got a great offer from Baltimore that they took. Now, if you're the Raiders, you've lost some amount of that leverage. Not all of it. I still think Max Crosby could be had, but it's going to be for less than 2 first-round round picks, because now it's documented, at least, however suspiciously it may have been documented. It's documented now that this medical issue, at least one team backed out of it, right? So if I'm the Bears, I would go, instead of 2 firsts now, I'd go, how about the 25th pick, straight up, just the 1 pick. If I'm the Eagles,
he's not moving for 25. He's not moving for 25.
And this is the problem, is what is the middle ground between 2 firsts and whatever teams might be willing to pay now? Because before that, 2 first-round picks seemed pretty solid. There was probably 2 or 3 teams in on that price. Right now, they're just not going to be. And even if teams believe that the medical problems are exaggerated, it's out there now that a team turned it down for, at least on paper, this reason. Now, do I find it a little odd that news of Trey Hendrickson's imminent announcement came out right around this same time of this same window of time, I should say, and B, Hendrickson got basically the exact same contract that Max Crosby is under right now, 4 years, roughly 112, roughly 60 guaranteed. Max Crosby has 30 guaranteed this year, and just about another 30 that's going to become guaranteed on Friday. That seems a little odd, right? I mean, and it's before the league year, so there's really nothing officially that's a violation there. It's just kind of, if some want to call it bad faith, then it is what it is. But I think as far as the Raiders go, they should be understandably pissed off. I get it, because they have lost at least a good chunk. I don't want to say all of the leverage, because I still think a Crosby trade is possible at the right price, but it won't be the price they got from Baltimore for sure. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Look, there's people in the chat, and like you said this, obviously we've talked about this a bunch as a staff this morning because it's crazy news, but like people in the chat are saying like, hey, the Ravens did nothing wrong. Technically, yeah, the Ravens did nothing wrong. They didn't break any rules. They didn't do anything wrong. The league year starts today at 4 p.m. They didn't do anything wrong in that regard. But I wonder what's coming after this. Like I don't know. I don't know how likely this is, but people have talked about, okay, moves like this have happened before in NFL history. Not to this magnitude, though. You're talking about trading 2 first-round picks to a team. You're talking about alleviating $30 million in salary cap space to a team. This is massive. This changes how you go about things, certainly in the short term, but also the long term. And a lot of time went by before you agreed for this trade to happen. And then the moves you were able to make on Monday when the tampering period opened up, this is a heavy magnitude type of a thing. And the Raiders should be pissed. And again, I don't know. I'm sort of speculating here, but I have a hard time thinking that the Raiders aren't going to go to the NFL and claim some sort of breach in the integrity of the league and how things operate here. Because you're right, were any rules broken by the Ravens and might no punishment happen from this at all whatsoever? Yes. But I wonder if the Raiders are like, come on, man. Like, let's get all the evidence out there. Sure, you started talking to Trey Hendrickson before the Max Crosby deal. Sure, that's fine. What text messages and messages happened after we went with the Crosby deal? Because I just think it's very, very interesting that Trey Hendrickson's price comes down. Now all of a sudden you're moving on from this because you realize that we can get a pass rusher that we really want that can still play at a high level, and we can keep our 2 first-round picks. So again, Ravens didn't do anything wrong, but because of all of the salary cap and all of the draft picks that were invested in this, I wonder if the Raiders do have a case to go to the league and be like, hey, this is not how we operate. This cannot be the faith in which that we do negotiations around this league. There is too much on the line. There are too many plans that have to go into it, especially for the timing in which all of this happened. So I don't know if anything is going to happen. I don't know if any action is going to take place, but I have a hard time thinking that the Raiders are not going to go to the NFL league offices and say that the Ravens broke what should be the unspoken integrity of how this league should operate. And I wonder if there's a world where they actually get to have legal action that comes into this. Now, the thing is, Ravens probably thought about all of this as well, right? Even whether they did something wrong, they didn't do something wrong. Again, technically, legally, they did not do anything wrong. But Dalton, when all of this gets resolved, I mean, it'd probably be 3 years down the road anyways. And what's going to happen? The league's going to maybe make the Ravens pay the Raiders a second-round pick or something like that. By that time, we're 3 or 4 years removed from this. Max Crosby might be retired. Trey Hendrickson might be retired. It doesn't matter at that point. But I wonder if this will continue to have some legal action and something might come of it. But in the short term, no, I don't think there's any repercussions at all for what Baltimore did, because like you guys in the chat are saying, they technically didn't do anything wrong.
The paper trail says that he failed the physical, and that's why they backed out of it, right? That's always the last step in these trades. So if there's any consequences, they're somewhat informal, right? As far as other teams dealing with Baltimore in trades, or even agents dealing with Baltimore with signings and things like that. And there's still the suspense of Trey Hendrickson having to go through his physical. That'll get fun. But I think it's more so the Raiders, and the Raiders should not be the only team here that's somewhat irritated. I think any of the other teams who were a suitor for Max Crosby, say the Bears or the Dallas Cowboys or any of these teams, you're talking about now that, okay, they hear over the weekend that the Crosby trade has gone through, right? They have now based all of their plans over the last 2.5 days around, okay, we're not getting Max Crosby. We have this cap space to work with. Imagine if the Raiders made all of these moves and they didn't have the cap space, like you asked about before, and now they have to make a decision. What does that do to a Kwity Paye, a Quay Walker, Tyler Linderbaum and his contract, right, that they shattered the center market for? What would that have done? It's a great theory to think about, right? And then you think about, the Bears. Do they not want to turn around and trade for Crosby because they don't have the room? They've signed Devin Bush. They've signed Braxton Jones. They've signed Kobe Bryant, right? Guys like that. These aren't small deals you're talking about. So it's certainly, I think there are other GMs even other than John Spytek who are going to, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Like they've made a couple of moves here with their team, and they need a guy like a Max Crosby. Could they have thought about that? I just think, for the timing of it, as much as anything, with it being Tuesday night, the very end of this legal tampering period and all of that, that's the part that's going to irritate not just Spytek, but multiple GMs around here.
For sure. Some landing spots for Crosby if he does get traded. You mentioned, I think that Bears fans are certainly riled up about this one, because I think they really wanted Max Crosby. I just don't think that the price is going to be right. Like, the Cowboys were probably the only other team that I would have thought would have gotten close to that first round or 2 first-round pick type of a price tag. Although it'd be kind of funny, moving on from Micah Parsons just to deal 2 first-round picks to get Max Crosby. Like, it would just be kind of ironic. I don't think the Cowboys are back in it. The reports have been out that the Cowboys are like, nope, we're good with Rashawn Gary. We're not backing out of that. The Bears could be interested, certainly. The Buccaneers, in theory, I just don't think the Buccaneers are going to do this. Jason Light is not really a general manager to pay a lot of draft capital and then also a lot of salary cap for a player that I don't think the Bucs are one player away, right? If the Bucs were one pass rusher away, like I felt like last year, they really could have dominated that division, potentially won a playoff game. Would they have won the Super Bowl? No, I think the NFC was too good. But you put Max Crosby on last year's Buccaneers team. Is it perfect? No, but I think it's one that certainly is able to close out games and win that division, even with all the turmoil that they had. This year, I don't think the Buccaneers roster feels that way, certainly as free agency has gone on. So I don't think that they're serious suitors. I wonder if the Bears are kind of the only team left.
I've got a Galaxy.
Is there another team?
I got a Galaxy brain fun one for you.
We're all about that here on this show. So what do we got?
The Detroit Lions just restructured Jared Goff's contract to create $32 million in cap space.
Very convenient.
Very convenient. Out of convenience. I know timing is what it is. We saw that last night for sure with all of this, but just throwing it out there that it just so happens that this morning they created $32 million in cap space restructuring Jared Goff's contract. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying Aiden Hutchinson and Max Crosby would be a whole lot of fun off the edge in Detroit. Throwing it out there. And he gets to go back to Michigan, of course.
That's true.
The namesake of Eastern Michigan's football field.
That's very true. Very, very true.
Just throwing a theory out there.
On the other side of this, Trey Hendrickson to the Baltimore Ravens. Independently of all of what happened here, because the money's somewhat similar, at least in the short term here. Thoughts on Trey Hendrickson being the Ravens' choice? Now, don't weigh it against, okay, well, Trey Hendrickson and you get to keep your 2 first-round picks, because I think a lot of people would take that, of course. But Hendrickson, is the conversation different from the way that we talked about the Ravens adding Max Crosby versus now adding Trey Hendrickson? What's your thoughts there for the Ravens?
No, I mean, either way, the theme is that this is exactly what Baltimore needed. They needed an elite pass rusher. They had one of the worst edge units, one of the worst pass rushes in the league last year. They had the fourth, actually tied for the third worst pass rush grade in the league. They could not get any pressure off of the edge. Their best defensive lineman was Travis Jones on the interior, but off the edge, you could see it, especially late in the season during, they were trying to run to the postseason. They couldn't get pressure on quarterbacks. I mean, that's just the facts. They needed an elite pass rusher, and Trey Hendrickson is an elite pass rusher. You might not think he's a great run defender. I mean, he's relatively average there, and he was hurt this past year, and that's obviously a problem. Injuries play a factor here too, but this guy, since he's entered Cincinnati in 2021, the last 5 years, top 6 pass rusher in basically every category. And even if you think he's a little bit diminished now, he's coming off 3 straight years with at least a 90 pass rush grade, and he's no less than a top 10 pass rusher. This is a game-changing move for Baltimore. I mean, you talk about their obvious needs on this team: interior offensive line, edge defender, wide receiver. They have cleanly taken care of one of those with Trey Hendrickson. Is there a little bit of risk? Sure. It's essentially the same exact contract that Crosby is on right now. 4 years, $112, $60 million. Basically a 2-year, $60 million contract. Trey Hendrickson gets his 30 over the next 2 years. The Ravens get the elite pass rusher. The deal in isolation is absolutely a win-win. The fact that now the Ravens get the first-round pick back and are able to improve either at guard or at wide receiver, I think now you look at the Ravens, if you were to go into this offseason saying, hey, they're going to be the team that signs Trey Hendrickson, I would go, yeah, A+. Like, it's everything that they need. They need that blindside pass rusher. They need some of those other young guys like Mike Green to develop and become something off the other side, but this is exactly what they needed. One way or the other, they were going to find themselves an elite defensive end. We just had a weird road of getting there.
Yeah. I agree. I think that this is it's a great move by Baltimore. Baltimore was in the conversations, obviously, for any top pass rusher because they absolutely needed one. So for them to get Hendrickson, I think that it's a really good fit for them. Let's move on to your New York Jets, shall we?
We shall. Why not?
Geno Smith, the return. The prodigal son.
No boxing gloves allowed in the locker room.
He's back.
Anyway. He's back.
The Jets received Geno Smith and a 2026 7th-round pick, and the Raiders received a 2026 6th-round pick. So a pick swap here of a 7th and a 6th-rounder, and then the Jets get Geno Smith. We talked about it a little bit on yesterday's show because we were sort of speculating that this could have been an option for the Jets, and both of us actually really like this. Both of us like the idea of Geno Smith being the bridge quarterback, if you will, this upcoming season, because it just didn't feel like any of these top-flight quarterbacks were going to be interested in signing with the New York Jets. Not currently the way that the team is going and what the outlook is for 2026. Not to say that it's always going to be bad, because I like a lot of the moves that they made in free agency, but you've still got a long way to go before you're really starting to compete. So I like the idea of Geno Smith and then drafting a quarterback in the 2027 NFL draft. That way you don't really have to overthink or overemphasize a quarterback class that just doesn't have a lot of hype. Like I like Ty Simpson. I think he could be a starter in this league, but do I think that Ty Simpson is a franchise caliber quarterback, especially to join a situation like the Jets are currently in, where they've had a lot of swings and misses at the quarterback position? No, I don't. So don't force it at 16. Don't even force it at 33. Just draft some good football players, continue to round out the team, and go for a quarterback in 2027. So as much as it's kind of like LOL, the Jets bringing in Geno Smith again, I actually think that this is a pretty good move for them.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think when you look at this, and there's so many different angles of looking at this, because I think for Aaron Glenn, I should say I think for Darren Muji, this is a win-win. Because if Geno comes in and even plays relatively well, and it can't get any worse at quarterback for a Jets team. Jets quarterbacks, Trev, this past season, 9 big-time throws and 27 turnover-worthy plays. So it literally cannot get worse than what the Jets put out there last year, especially the last 5 games with Brady Cook starting. So I mean, you look at Geno, if he comes in and plays decent football and they put a respectable outfit out there, then you talk about, okay, this defense gets better, some young guys get a chance to develop on a functional team, and maybe, just maybe, Aaron Glenn gets to keep his job going into the process of trying to find a franchise quarterback in 2027. If Geno Smith at 35 years old plays as bad as he did last year or worse, then the Jets will once again be one of the worst teams in football, and to be honest with you, would not shock me considering they have their own plus the Colts' first-round pick plus the better between Dallas and Green Bay. But between them and the Colts, To be honest, it wouldn't shock me if they had 2 top 10 picks next year. And to have that sort of ammo plus one more beyond it, for, probably a couple of good teams in Dallas and Green Bay, the Jets are set up right now for the 2027 draft to really have a lot of success. They're set up this year to have a lot of success. I think the nail in the coffin as far as any Ty Simpson speculation for the Jets will be whether they sign Carson Wentz to be their backup, because that's been rumored heavily with his connection to Frank Reich. If they were to sign Carson Wentz and then probably cut Justin Fields, that would be the road. You now have 2 veteran quarterbacks. That'll be your room this year, along with maybe just a third camp body sort of guy, maybe Brady Cook again, whoever it may be. But I'm with you. Just use those 4 picks in the top 50. Take good football players. Keep building this defense. Get another wide receiver. Find you a starting guard. You have a hole at left guard right now, and build this team up for whoever you may take in next year's draft. And I know Jets fans and so many people are like, well, it's always next year and it's always next year's quarterback class and this and that. Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you at this point. You're not getting Fernando Mendoza, and I don't think there's another quarterback in this draft worth the Jets really going after and trying to develop into a franchise guy. I don't see another one. Maybe if Ty Simpson was there at 44, maybe they would think about it, and even then, that's a pretty easy second-round contract to get out of. We've seen that before. I think also when you look at this financially, and people are asking, well, why did they do a pick swap and give whatever? They're moving down like 20 spots from the 6th to the 7th round.
Yeah, it does not matter.
It's inconsequential. And Geno's getting, I think, a slight pay raise. I think maybe $1 million. This is all costing the Jets just over $3 million. Even if Geno was going to be your backup, okay, cool. $3 million is cheaper than a lot. I mean, it's going to cost the Jets less than half of what it's costing Carolina to pay Kenny Pickett, and Geno's better than Kenny Pickett. So I mean, it's really from the Jets' angle. There's not. It really makes a lot of sense. If you're one of those Jet fans and they're out there who is they're looking every year to make the playoffs this year because we just want to get there so bad. Yeah, you're not going to like this move. Geno, there's a 99% chance that Geno Smith is not taking you to the postseason. That is true, but that's not what this is about. We're just trying to find a placeholder, build the rest of this football team, because the goal before the Geno Smith trade was, hey, we need to build this defense. It's very clear the moves they made, Aaron Glenn taking over the play calling, right? He needs to build his side of the ball. They've got a decent offensive line in place that needs one more starter. You've got a star receiver. You kept the star running back. I mean, I think there's a lot of the team building process right here for Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn that's actually kind of going right. And I think getting Geno Smith in here for as cheap as you just got a starting quarterback for $3 million. I don't really see what the problem is. And if he's awful, or if as bad or worse than he was last year in Vegas, well then so be it. We're picking in the top 5 again in a draft that's supposed to be a lot more loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that this was sort of a move that, to be honest, if you're a Jets fan, you probably didn't want them to go all in at the quarterback position because things are so in flux with Aaron Glenn. And the timeline with Aaron Glenn is kind of making a lot of moves where they've got to win this upcoming season. With Geno Smith, they have the ability to show competency and show progress while also not taking them out of a draft range to potentially get a franchise caliber quarterback with their pick, and then certainly the other picks they have with the Cowboys and the Indianapolis Colts. So they got a lot of ammunition. I think they'll be able to use it next year. But I think that this move is totally fine. I think the Jets, man, you look at their roster, totally different now with Tavondre Sweat, David Onyemata, Demario Davis, Joseph Osai, Nashawn Wright, Minka Fitzpatrick, Dane Belton, Kingsley Enagbare. These are all new additions to this defense that were not there the previous season. And so if Aaron Glenn looked at that bunch of players that he sort of inherited and was like, all right, we're going to try to make this work. Very clearly it didn't last year, but he is being given the freedom to sort of pick a lot of the guys that he wants here to go out and sign and trade for as well, with guys like Sweat and Minka Fitzpatrick. So I think the Jets are fine. They were never going to be really good in 2026. I think it's always been about, hey, building towards making the 2027 NFL draft count when you have the ability to draft a franchise quarterback, or you certainly hope so.
And real quick, in defense of Geno Smith here and what he dealt with the Raiders last year.
Yeah. This is a great point. Thank you for doing this, because Geno was good in Seattle.
I mean,
and it was abysmal last year everywhere with the Raiders. So go ahead.
Geno had the 4th worst offensive line in the league, and honestly, after Colton Miller got hurt, I believe they were the 2nd worst ahead of the Chargers. You didn't have a number 1 wide receiver. Brock Bowers missed a few games, right? Ashton Jeanty couldn't get going because they couldn't block anyone, and they had a bottom 5 defense in football, if not worse than that. I mean, Geno Smith went from a legitimately good team in Seattle. They won 10 games the year before to one of the worst rosters right now, before free agency, at least maybe the worst roster in football last year. So I think when you're looking at, yes, the Jets are also awful, and there's a reason they're picking one spot behind the Raiders in this draft, but the way that they've built this defense, and you've got a better offensive line still with Breece Hall and with Garrett Wilson and maybe some other young weapons with potential, plus you've got 4 picks in the top 50, there is a legitimate chance that Geno Smith comes in. Maybe he won't be Seattle level good like he was for those 3 years, but that he should play better than he did this past year, because if he doesn't play better on this team than he did with the Raiders, which is possible, then his career is probably over. That's pretty much, or at least as a starter, it's probably over. So I don't think it is not, especially when you talk about it cost you 20 picks at the end of the draft and $3 million. What is the downside? I think the only worst case scenario that I could think about is that Geno's actually good enough for this team to go 8-9, and then we're picking like 14th with our own pick. And even then, I still wonder how high that Colts pick might be, because I'm worried about that team. But that's also why you have 3 first-round picks next year. Load up, trade up, do whatever you need to do, right? I think that's why Darren Muji has nailed kind of this goal of flexibility, especially when it comes to the next 2 drafts. The next 2 drafts, the Jets are arguably the most fun team to watch in football, which isn't necessarily the time of the year you want to be the most fun team to watch, but it is what it is. That's how you got to build this team.
I want to move on to talk about the Commanders, but before we do that really quick, Sports Debate Arena is asking why they prioritize several older players like Demario Davis and Minka Fitzpatrick when they may not even be on the team when the rebuilding is done. Curious your take. Aaron Glenn has to win this year.
The word to me for their defense that when they traded for Minka, when they signed Demario, especially even a guy like David Onyemata, the word is credibility. Like by the end of last season, after they traded Quinnen and Sauce, that wasn't even a credible defense. There's probably college teams that would have scored 30 points on their defense as bad as they were playing last year. I mean, Steve Wilkes got fired. The word that sticks out to me between Aaron Glenn taking over the play calling, they have some young guys in there, obviously getting Sweat. I love that trade. You get a young player in there. There's other young players there, Malachi Moore, Will McDonald, guys that I like, but they had to bring some veterans in there, so they had some sort of leadership and credibility on this defense. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick also. These are also productive players too. Minka Fitzpatrick, not even 30 years old yet, 5th highest graded safety in football this past year. Demario Davis, old as he is, 5th highest graded linebacker in football. You're still getting good players out of this, and they bring credibility to a defense that basically after you traded Quinnen and Sauce, they didn't have any credibility. They were giving up points left and right down the stretch. So I do think at all 3 levels, their defense is much, much better than the way they ended the season this past year, and they still have a really good defensive draft that they're able to attack and fill in the holes with more young players.
So it was reported that Brandon Ayuk's going to be released from the San Francisco 49ers, which sort of ushers in a conversation about the Washington Commanders, because it feels as though he's been a Washington Commander for forever.
There's 2 places. Happened. There's 2 places Ayuk could go. The Commanders make sense with Adam Peters,
or the Patriots.
No, or the bouncer's going to let him in the door in Nashville.
Right.
Come on now. It always comes down to the bouncer at the door. It always comes down to who you know. Especially depending on the price.
Funny enough, I actually like Ayuk on the Titans a lot more than I like Wan'Dale Robinson. But I don't know.
Why not both?
I truly have no idea how much Brandon Ayuk's going to cost. No idea. Who knows? League minimum? $25 million a year, anywhere in between. I have no idea with Brandon Ayuk at this point, who's obviously coming off not playing football for an entire season. So who knows, but he's been linked a lot to the Washington Commanders. When you look at the Commanders, okay, they didn't make that big splash signing, but you look at the guys that they did bring in, Odafe Owe, Kayvon Chason, okay, I like that. Tim Settle to be a rotational guy in the middle, okay, not bad. They signed Leo Chanel, which Leo Chanel and Frankie Louvu in the middle of that defense, I mean, that is some physicality that you have at the second level there with those 2 linebackers. Amik Robertson to be able to play in the slot for you. Pretty good moves. If you throw in Brandon Ayuk here on the moves that they have made, that's a pretty decent offseason. I know they didn't make the big splash for like an AJ Brown or again like a Max Crosby or a Trey Hendrickson or something like that, but these are really solid moves for Washington. So I don't mind what Washington has done here, even though it's been a little bit more quiet than people maybe thought it would be, or Commanders fans maybe wish that it would have been.
Oh, the Leo Chenal contract to me sticks out more than anything. That's one of the best contracts that.
What did he sign for?
3 years and less than 25. That's one of the best contracts that any team is, as far as team value. That's one of the best contracts that's been given out.
God, $8 million a year? Why?
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is that's where his market was, because he's never played 600 snaps in a season, so they want to see him play 1,000 snaps at the level that he can. But if he can do that, Trevor, in the last 4 years, he's got the 4th best PFF grade and the 4th best run defense grade, 5th best run defense grade in the league over the past 4 years among linebackers who played at least 1,000 snaps. I mean, and he's gotten better in coverage the last 2 years, which was really always the question early in his career. He's an elite run defender, and if his production in coverage, which was roughly top 25 the last 2 years, holds up, $8 million is a bargain for that guy, especially for not only do they get a player, obviously Bobby Wagner's a first ballot Hall of Famer, at least he should be, and he's not going to be Bobby Wagner, for his entire career or anything like that, but considering you got at least a similar player who's an elite run stopper, as long as he can do it on a greater sample over 17 games. And you got 10 years younger, because what was one of the big issues with Washington the last couple of years? This was one of, if not the oldest roster in football, especially with a lot of the players on defense led by Bobby Wagner. And Wagner should still get a contract elsewhere, most likely to play for one more year, right? Just like DeMario Davis got his 2-year deal. Wagner is still a very good player, but for the Commanders to have very little drop-off potentially in production at that spot and get 10 years younger and at this price, I mean, think about Leo Chenal just got just a little more than half of what Devin Lloyd got. That's a great deal for Washington. That, to me, that's by far the best contract that they have signed this offseason and one of the best in all of football.
I agree. I mean, I agree. I like a lot of the moves that Washington has made. Bringing this back to Brandon Ayuk, is Washington the best spot for him? I'd probably like to see him the most as a neutral independent party, just a fan of the game, if you will. Rob Lowe just wearing the NFL hat, would like to see the maximum amount of fun. I think that probably makes the most sense, because you're hoping that Terry McLaurin is going to be fully healthy going into this season. You got Terry McLaurin and you have Brandon Ayuk. Jaden Daniels is going to be ready to let it fly. And I talked about Alec Pierce potentially signing with the Washington Commanders for that very reason of being a vertical threat, being somebody who can win over the middle of the field as well. Brandon Ayuk at his best is even better than that. Now, Alec Pierce obviously has had better deep production, especially last year with how productive he was in that area. But Ayuk is a more complete receiver. He's a more explosive receiver when he's fully healthy. Well, Pierce has got some speed. Anyways, I think both these guys are good, but independently, if they're both fully healthy, I'd take Brandon Ayuk. So even though I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get to see Alec Pierce on this Washington offense with Jaden Daniels, if we get to see Brandon Ayuk, to me, that's a major move for this Commanders offense.
Don't forget, too, Jaden Daniels' freshman year at Arizona State was also Brandon Ayuk's final year at Arizona State.
Wow.
So if there was ever a connection.
I did not think that they had crossover.
2019, Ayuk's final year. So if there's two connections that I'd be looking at, one is Adam Peters and Jaden Daniels in Washington, and two, of course, because now I'm just committing to the bit here with the bouncer, is Robert Saleh in Tennessee. Those are the two places. New England might stick out also, but that might depend on price tag and if they feel Ayuk is redundant to Romeo Doubs. And New England's got a lot of other wide receivers in that room, especially young ones who they're hoping can produce for him. But I think Washington and Tennessee, to me, are going to be the two teams to watch, because he's played less than 400 snaps over the last 2 years. Keep in mind, he tore his ACL in 2024. I believe it was week 7 also. So you're talking about a guy who's barely played. He may need a connection to get an opportunity, because there's been just no production over the last 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, especially for the amount of money that he probably wants to sign for. I don't know how much he's officially gotten paid over the last year, because San Francisco was able to void all of his guarantees, which is why they're able to release him. So I don't know how much he's gotten paid. Like, it's not like a situation where some of these other quarterbacks, they're getting a crap ton of money from their old contract getting cut, so they don't care. They'll sign for the vet minimum. Like, Brandon Ayuk's still going to want to sign for a good amount of money, but I think it'll be at a discount versus where his talent level pre-injury would suggest that you could get him for. So I think that the Washington one makes the most sense to me. Tennessee would obviously work for them because it would be more talent in that receiver room. But it's funny that you just gave all that money to Wan'Dale Robinson, and I feel like Ayuk would have been a better fit for you. Does that keep you from signing Ayuk? Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see where the domino falls there for him, especially because if you're Washington and you feel pretty good about a lot of the additions that you made on the defensive side of the ball in free agency, if you sign Brandon Ayuk and then all of a sudden you draft Jeremiah Love, Jaden Daniels, Jeremiah Love, Brandon Ayuk, you've got Terry McLaurin. Like, that offense looks a lot different now if you get to talk about it in that light, maybe getting Jeremiah Love at number 7 overall. Somebody also talked about, Caleb Downs potentially being an addition for the Commanders at number 7. I think that would be a major fit for them and would really help out that defense in a lot of ways, getting younger, getting more versatile. But, and two, I think, don't sleep on Caleb Downs as that pick for number 7, because over the last couple of years, I believe Dan Quinn he's tried to find those super versatile safeties. He's drafted a lot of safeties in the day 3 range that have had more size to them to be able to play like linebacker and safety in the second and third level type of defense. But Caleb Downs is so good at doing that I believe that that he would still be somebody that Dan Quinn would absolutely love in that sort of fold. So, all right, what's next? What do we got next year?
Adding to that, Nick Wagner of ESPN is saying it's a post-June 1st designation, which is why San Fran wanted to wait until today, and Washington is the most likely landing spot, probably on a 1-year deal.
There you go. 2 signings that also happened yesterday. Did you talk about Romeo Doubs and the Patriots? Was that a landing spot for you? Did you mention that? I feel like it was.
We'd have to go back on the recording. Might have been. Maybe. Let's just say I did. I probably did.
I'll give it to you because remember when we were talking about Riq Woolen? Remember when we were talking about like landing spots? And I was like, I mean, Philly makes sense. I don't know if they would do it. I don't know if they'd pay up for CB3, and they absolutely pay up for CB3. And Riq Woolen ends up going to the Eagles. So Patriots getting Romeo Doubs. Philadelphia Eagles getting Riq Woolen. Where do you want to start here with those two?
I think that the Doubs signing is very interesting. Now, we got 9 different contract numbers on Twitter from this yesterday. It was one of like the Twitter controversies yesterday that nobody had any idea what Romeo Doubs was getting paid. I think it's settled in on 4 years and $80 million. So when you look at the Patriots had to do something to replace Stephon Diggs, right? I don't know that this was necessarily the right move, and Doubs is a good player, 77.3 receiving grade this past year, I believe was top 25 in football. He is a solid player, right, especially the contested catch ability, 13 contested catches this past year. His ability to win one-on-one to replace Diggs' production against man coverage is going to be the biggest factor to me in whether or not this is a successful signing, because I mean, at $20 million a year, right? It makes me wonder if they just decided, and they probably did, that A.J. Brown's price is just too high from Philly because they needed an impact player. I'm not saying – I think we can agree that Romeo Doubs is not in the same caliber as A.J. Brown. The debate more so is he even better than Stephon Diggs even at this point? Because Diggs had an excellent year for the Patriots, and he was easily their highest-graded player against man-to-man coverage. Can Doubs develop into the guy who – can consistently win one-on-one and start putting up those 1,000 or even 1,200 yard seasons, or is he going to stay in that 800-900 yard range and he's just going to be a player who realistically is probably getting paid like a wide receiver too at $20 million a year, very similar contract, close to it to the Wan'Dale Robinson deal. But I can't sit here and say they got younger, obviously. I don't know that New England got better with this deal. I think they really kind of settled here they wanted Alec Pierce, didn't get him. He wanted to go back to Indy. I think they wanted A.J. Brown. They didn't want to pay the price. Maybe the Eagles are asking for way too much for A.J. Brown. This feels like they have settled at least on something to replace Stephon Diggs, but I don't necessarily think it makes them better, although it does make them younger.
Yeah, Drew in the chat saying that Romeo Doubs is a chain mover, and I do kind of think that should be seen as a positive in this situation, because I agree with you. I don't know how much better it makes the Patriots from what they were last year, but I do think adding him was important, because losing Stephon Diggs, I think, was going to be an issue for this team, because, yeah, you've got some names that are on the depth chart, like Pop Douglas, you've got Kyle Williams, F. Chisholm was able to come on in a couple of games, you've got Matt Collins, you have Kayshon Boutte, but you still needed like another really reliable veteran receiver, and so this to me, it was something that was kind of necessary from them to have the floor as high as it needed to be for the Patriots. Because I don't think anybody thinks the Patriots are going to win the same amount of games that they won this past season. But I still think they could be a really good football team. You had to replace Stephon Diggs somehow. So, yeah, if you can't get A.J. Brown, I think that this was actually a good move for them because it would have lowered the floor a lot more than I felt was comfortable. Now, Riq Woolen on the outside for the Philadelphia Eagles. It makes a ton of sense with him being an outside corner that has that length, that has that athleticism. He's a little boomer bust himself, but you've seen when it's on for Riq Woolen, you feel really good about it. So him on one side, Quinyon Mitchell on the other, and allowing Cooper DeJean to stay in the slot and be a player that could play close to the line of scrimmage, play with the linebackers, rotate with the safeties, whatever it looks like. His versatility, and I think this signing is much more about allowing DeJean to be as versatile as he has been for them over the last couple of years. I like this because CB3 turned into a major issue for the Philadelphia Eagles. It was something that had to be addressed for them, whether it was through the NFL draft or here in free agency. And I like this move. I think Riq Woolen's a very boomer bust player anyways, but for Philly as a CB3, I think that's totally fine. If a team was trying to sign him to like be their cornerback one, I'd get nervous. But Philly's situation, I do think, is a good situation for Riq.
Oh, absolutely. I think you talk about an upside signing at 1 year and $15 million. I think the Eagles' defense did get better. Look, Adoree Jackson was really the main culprit on the outside last year that teams were attacking so much. Woolen, especially with as much off coverage in this defense as he's going to be able to play, I think this can absolutely play. And even then, he's got some press man ability at his size. I mean, look at just the physically imposing pair you have to deal with on the outside with Quinyon Mitchell and Riq Woolen. I mean, I think it's as talented physically as any cornerback duo in the league, and I think Howie Roseman did a great job here of getting the right value. Obviously, Woolen was looking for a multi-year deal, but if you're going to sign a 1 year, $15 million prove-it deal to try to parlay it into something big next offseason, I think it's the right decision for Woolen's career in the right defense, and I do think it makes Philadelphia a lot better. It would not shock me at all if this became one of the best value signings in free agency. It wouldn't shock me at all if he had a really good year in Vic Fangio's defense.
All right, we are going to talk about the Chargers next because I saw some people earlier kind of asking about the Chargers and how their offensive line looks. But before we dig into the Los Angeles Chargers, every week on Draft Risers, we're highlighting players climbing up draft boards as teams get deeper into the evaluation process. These guys are rising because decision makers are getting more confident in the full profile, not just chasing certain traits, but a guy who you can be confident about the full profile and chase the traits is Sonny Styles, the player that we have been talking about over the last couple of weeks as a major draft riser. I've heard so many conversations, even some people in the chat I saw earlier today talking about, oh man, how high can you take an off-ball linebacker? Is the limit, outside of the top 10? Do you ever want to think about him inside of the top 10? I don't even know if he gets out of the top 10 at this point because the tape is phenomenal, the athleticism is phenomenal, and from all reports, the interviews were as well. This is somebody that you want in the middle of your defense. That's a full scouting report. And when you're trying to identify risers like that, it's not about guessing. It's about having better tools, better data, and a better process. That same approach applies to when you are making decisions about your own money as well. If you want to make smarter picks with your portfolio, Tasty Trade gives you the advanced tools and data to do so. You can trade stocks, options, futures, and more, all on one platform. You get live support at any time on Tasty Trade's experienced trade desk reps during trading hours. They've got dozens of educational courses as well that you can access with your free account. It's low commissions, including a $10 cap per leg on option trades, so you guys can keep more of what you earn. We've also got back testing and risk analysis tools to help you plan ahead and manage that risk. It's got all sorts of great features like active trader mode, one-click trading, and smart order tracking. Visit tastytrade.com/PFF today. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and a member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. Somebody in the chat said Styles going number 3 to Arizona. Book it. Book it.
I don't know about book it, but I mean,
it's an option.
It's an option. It is an option. That's they don't have any linebackers right now. I mean, yeah. Honestly, all right. I think it makes sense.
Chargers. Okay, they brought in Tyler Biadasz when he got released from Washington.
Yeah, we like that.
Brought in Cole Strange as well. Signed Charlie Kohler. Signed fullback Alec Ingold as well. They re-signed Trevor Penning to play guard for them, re-signed Khalil Mack, re-signed Trey Pipkins to be a depth offensive lineman for them, and re-signed defensive tackle Tier Tart earlier. Not the one wasn't recent; it was a little while ago. But what do we think about the Chargers here? Because their starting projected offensive line right now is hopefully fully healthy. Rashawn Slater at left, Trevor Penning at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center, Cole Strange at right guard, and then Joe Alt at right tackle. Is that enough for the Chargers? When you throw in Charlie Kohler as well, who could play on the line of scrimmage, help you out with some blocking, is that enough? Are you still worried about the Chargers?
So let's go over what we like. Tyler Biadasz for sure. Love that. Better than any center that played for them last year. I like the Charlie Kohler call out because I think there's more potential as a receiver, and he's one of the best blockers in football, replacing Will Dissly. And I think the combination of the blocker Kohler and the receiver Oronde Gadsden there at tight end, really like that. Alec Ingold, that was the most predictable signing in free agency. Him following Mike McDaniel to the Chargers. I think obviously he loves the fullback in his offense, as a lot of those Shanahan disciples do. But I think we do have to ask the question of this team. I mean, the answer is no, but have they done enough, right? I mean, you mentioned right now their projected guards are Trevor Penning and Cole Strange. That's not good enough. They have to be looking at more guard options, maybe a Kevin Zeitler who's still out there as a free agent, maybe somebody in the draft. Guard still needs to be a heavy priority. I know Cole Strange is now familiar with Mike McDaniel coming over from Miami, but to me, that's not a guy you want starting 17 games. Same goes for Trevor Penning, who's just been so inconsistent throughout his career. You know, the Saints obviously lost faith in him as a former first-round pick. So the guard spots, and then it's interesting because they're a team with a lot of cap space, and they have been known right now to be looking for help at receiver. You've got Ladd McConkey's a mainstay, but they might be listening to offers on Quentin Johnston. You've got some other late-round guys they've drafted over the last couple of years. Keenan Allen is still a free agent. You wonder if this is now, maybe with the Patriots signing Romeo Doubs, are the Chargers now the team to watch in a potential A.J. Brown trade, and how much would that take, right? Would they be willing to give up a first-round pick plus or possibly two to go get A.J. Brown to give Justin Herbert a real number one outside type of weapon with McConkey working in the slot? So I can't imagine that what they've done so far means that they're finished. Because if that's the case, then this, to me, this would be a poor offseason. This interior offensive line even has to be better. Again, the Biadasz signing is really good, and I'm glad they got out ahead of that before free agency even started because the Commanders had cut him, but they've got to get better at guard. They probably have to get better at wide receiver. I think there are still progress to be made for this team if they want to be a real AFC contender instead of just a wild card team like they were last year.
I don't think that they're going to sign another veteran at along the offensive line. Bringing back Penning, signing Biadasz, signing Cole Strange, I think those are the three signings. I think you're kind of looking at the draft now. Now that doesn't, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they're good on the interior. You could still draft maybe Vega Owane in the first round, Spencer Fano in the first round. You talk about Emmanuel Pregnon, maybe you're trading back a little bit or getting him in the second round, something like that. You could still draft a really good guard prospect. I just don't know if they would sign another veteran.
So
maybe they would, but I feel as though they've sort of already made their splashes in the veteran market.
The money that they're paying, though, gives them room still to do it. So Biadasz is making...
Oh, they have plenty of money. They have the second most effective cap space in the NFL still.
And I don't think they're obligated, other than Biadasz is making 10. He's making starting money. But Pipkins is making $5 million a year. Strange is making $6.5 million. Penning's making $4.5 million on 1 year. I think what they're doing more so...
But who are they going to get is the thing.
I mean, it could. I would feel better about Kevin Zeitler than any of those other options at guard.
Right, but wouldn't you have just done that anyways? Is kind of what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong. If they independently added Kevin Zeitler, it's not like I'd look at this situation and think that it was worse. I would think that would be a good move. I just don't know if they're going to do that. It feels like they brought in two new veterans, re-signed one of their old veterans. To me, that's the veteran moves that they made. I just don't think it's realistic to think that they would still go on a spending spree for interior offensive line.
Oh, I don't think it'd be a big spree. I mean, I think you're even talking about one no more than a 2-year deal. I think about, even veteran guys like Zeitler, like Joel Bitonio, like Greg Van Roten, who I probably would still feel more comfortable about him than any of the guys they've signed. Maybe there's a younger Wyatt Teller could be an option as well if he can stay healthy. I think it's those guys in their 30s that they're kind of, it almost feels like they're doing what Houston is doing right now, where it's just get bodies. Let's just get bodies, guys we're familiar with, or Cole Strange that Mike McDaniel's familiar with, and none of them are coming all that expensive, right? And I think the two guard spots could be just wide open competitions. A guy like Chris Paul from the Washington Commanders, right? I mean, James Daniels could be somebody of interest to them. I think there's just, it feels like a guard on the first 2 days of the draft is going to be a major need for them. Maybe even at that, what is it? They're picking 22nd, I think it is. I mean, that I think that's going to be in the spotlight for sure. If not there, then on day 2. And then at wide receiver, I'm very intrigued to see what they do at wide receiver, because I would find it hard to imagine that they're going to walk in with a top 3 of Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, Trey Harris. I don't know that they're going to do that. What
are the options, though? Are you saying draft one? Like draft
possibly
a really good one?
They could draft one. I think this might be the number one team that's if there is still an AJ Brown sweepstakes, they might do it.
I don't doubt it, but they only have 5 picks right now in the draft. They have a first, a fourth, a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and a sixth. Like, that's it. They only have 5 picks in this draft. So
is it a trade down possibility if anybody wants to trade up, where day 2 is a pretty good spot for interior offensive line and wide receiver, and maybe even defensive line? They could use more depth there. Is it something where maybe trading
sounds like
out?
we're about to pull the PFF mock draft.
I mean, we could do if the guys are up for it. We could do a Chargers mock draft right now.
We could
do it. It's a thought. If the producers are awake back there,
they have so much money, and I do think that it's worth pointing out here, when you have money to spend, that doesn't mean like you have to spend all of it, right? I mean, like, the Chargers have a ton of money. They've made some moves, smaller moves, because what's the other ones? Alec Ingold, Charlie Kohler. Yeah, it's smaller moves that they made, and then they re-signed a couple of players, but they don't have to like get to the cap floor. They could just sort of be, not that I think that they're done. I still think that they're going to make plenty of moves, but you could still have a good amount of cap space going into the year. Maybe that allows you to make a deal at the trade deadline. Maybe that becomes more likely then, or during training camp, or you can also get to next offseason and have a ton of money to work with. And maybe the free agency pool next year looks a lot better for you. So I just want to like sort of remind everybody that just because the Chargers have almost $60 million in effective cap space still doesn't mean that they're going to spend that $60 million. If they don't think that there's the free agent out there that's worth it, I just don't. I'm not convinced that they're just going to keep signing a bunch of random veterans here. I think that they're maybe looking at, like you said, making a big time splash trade somewhere, but outside of that, they might be turning the page to the draft at this point.
Throwing it out there, it also benefits the Eagles financially way more to trade A.J. Brown after June 1st.
Yeah, right. Correct.
Maybe you go through the draft and you just go through everything if you're the Chargers status quo, and then you wait till June 1st when the Eagles are going to be more amenable, and it actually helps them. It actually helps them financially a lot for the next several years to trade him after June 1st than it would right now. Maybe, just maybe, that's what we're waiting on, and an A.J. Brown trade will happen a couple of months from now.
Yeah, because if they trade him before June 1st, they take on $43 million in dead money, and they save negative $20 million in cap. But if they trade him after June 1, there's only $16 million of dead money, and they are saving $7 million on the cap. So,
true.
Like you said, there might be some A.J. Brown conversations happening right now that we won't see the fruits of for another, 3 months, 4 months, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Tell you what, Trev, we've got the mock draft sim pulled up, and you said the Chargers only have 5 draft picks right now?
I believe so. Yes, a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and a sixth.
Let's just do all 5 picks then for the fun of it. Why not?
You're an animal. You're an animal.
Well, of course. I mean, we're filling time here. We're talking this much about the Chargers and their draft needs, and they have multiple of them. Let's do it. Let's make all 5 picks for the Chargers right now.
Cool.
Let's have a fun time. 22nd overall to start out. Here we go.
So I think we walked through a couple of the strategies here for them. Offensive line is somewhere that you would look, that you would consider. Is Pregnon gone as well? Or is he still he's further down?
Pregnon is here.
So you could take Pregnon.
Tell you what, interesting. We're talking wide receiver.
Jordan Tyson.
Ooh, do we take the value, but do we go Jordan Tyson and actually just hang on to Quentin Johnston, and we've got McConkey and Tyson, and maybe because look, day 2 is a pretty good spot for interior offensive line, picking at 55. Do we take the gamble here and just take the talent of Tyson out there, and now we don't have to worry about A.J. Brown? Maybe.
I like the idea of drafting Jordan Tyson. I mean, brother, forget that. Like, if you could still trade, Quentin Johnston and something for A.J. Brown, you get A.J. Brown, you get Jordan Tyson, you get Ladd McConkey.
Quentin and a first and a fourth? Something like that?
I don't think it would cost... I don't know if it would cost that much.
It'll cost you a first.
You think?
Yes. The Eagles are going to want at least one first for A.J. Brown. Yes.
I might be crazy to say, but I don't know if that's going to be the case after they get out of the financial responsibilities of him, right? Like the heavy financial responsibilities will be gone already if you're trading him after June 1st. So if he is super disgruntled and he wants out and he's not going to play for the Eagles again, like we've kind of speculated maybe would be the case, but not really plausible given the contract. I don't know.
It is much like the Crosby deal now. It is a leverage battle. And the Eagles, if Brown is that disgruntled and he just absolutely wants out, right, the Eagles don't have a ton of leverage, right? If he's kind of more indifferent, I'll play here, I'll play there, whatever you want. They're going to want at least a first-round pick for him, of course, because honestly, right, I think without A.J. Brown, they can't win the Super Bowl. I think it's as simple as that.
But A.J.'s contract, because that also goes into it when you're trading for him, right? Because he I don't know what happens to the 5 void years that he has on his contract in 2034.
Man.
But at that point, the big issue for him, and maybe this gets cleared up after you trade him because there's no guarantees left on the deal, but if you would be trading for him, he would still have 4 years left on his deal. And he would be turning 30, 31, 32 with a significant amount of cap hits over those 3 years. So you as the Chargers could sort of argue like, hey, we've got to take, like, even though you're getting out of things financially, we're not necessarily. Again, I'm not an expert cap guy, so maybe you can manipulate it a ton. But I just feel as though if AJ's getting traded after June 1st, he's getting traded for less than a first-round pick. That's what I think.
It could be the case. And I think the Chargers, they can afford it. And it really is a matter of how much are the Chargers in a win-now sort of? Are they in the same sort of win-now mode as, say, the team not even across town, but right there in the Rams? Because so far it doesn't feel like it either. It's kind of hard. It's hard to figure out what state of mind they're in with what they've done so far. But do we want to go Jordan Tyson?
I think we should go Jordan Tyson and see what reality we can manifest here with going receiver at 22.
All right, here we go. Still looking, I think, at O-line and D-line here.
Because if Pregnon's available, or if Vega Wane or Spencer Fano are available at 22, I think that I run it in, and I don't think twice about it.
Fano would be money. If Fano drops because people think he's a guard and he gets to the Chargers, that's money.
What I'm saying.
Man, I'll tell you what, Trev. I know we need O-line help. Caleb Tiernan, I think, is a guy who could move in and actually play well in McDaniel's system. But boy, adding Malachi Lawrence off the edge for this team, with Khalil Mack, with Tuli Tuipulotu. The need says take Tiernan and put him inside probably at left guard. But
I'd rather have Lawrence, a better player.
Lawrence, man, that's you add that as the rotational third rusher right now to Mack and Tuli. I would be in on this. Guy had a monster year at UCF. And he's got some real twitch and explosion as a pass rusher. You talk about a guy who can just generate pressure because they lost Owe, right? He went to Washington. So they need one more. I could vibe with this. I'm in on this.
Sig Lawrence.
Let's do it.
I'd rather take the talent of the player than force it.
Let's see.
Because I think that there will still be guard options that you can get.
Keelan?
Yeah, Keelan's not bad. I don't hate that.
Oh, if they didn't sign Biotish, I would say Jake Slaughter would be perfect for him, but they don't need that.
Yeah, they don't really need that anymore.
What else could we do?
Go to guard.
Let's just see the guards. Keelan is probably pretty solidly the best one left. But Billy Schrouth. Bo Stevens is a system fit, but that's way later. That's a guy I could take later on when we get
I would take Logan Jones or Bo Stevens a little bit later because we still have 3 more picks.
But Keelan's more,
I would take Keelan here.
Keelan's more likely to start right now.
Of course.
Even if it's a system adjustment, because they ran a lot of those power schemes at Georgia Tech. Like he's mean and angry and confident enough that he could figure it out.
Wisco in the chat saying, is Chase Basanta still available? He wasn't available in the second round or here in the third round. No,
he went.
So if Basantis was there in the second round, I would have taken him over
Easy.
Lawrence.
Yep. Rutledge.
Yeah, let's take Keelan Rutledge.
Let it rip.
Yeah. Yep.
Boy, between Trevor Penning and Keelan Rutledge, you've got an angry offensive line room in there. Man,
Very true.
All right, now we're just kind of playing around.
Now we're vibing.
We've gone what? Receiver, edge, interior. I think we can continue to look offensive line. Just throwing this out there, considering the speed that they have drafted at receiver before, could Jim Harbaugh just take a Brennan Thompson for the fun of it? Because it seems like once a draft, they just take a pure speed guy out there.
But they have Trey Harris.
So
Trey Harris is going to run the same routes. And he's actually NFL size.
And they have Keandre Lambert-Smith. And they have Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Just a thought. All right,
it's a nice idea.
It's
a nice idea.
It's a great idea, I think.
Do they need another tight end? Like they have Aronde Gaston, but let's face it, he doesn't play on the line of scrimmage. He's a big slot player.
So
they signed Charlie Kohler, but they don't have any other tight ends. I guess Tucker Fisk is a restricted free agent. But Tyler Conklin's an unrestricted free agent.
And Will Dissly's been released. I mean, you could take a Jack Endries for the fun of it, or take another inline guy to get in those big, heavy sets they like getting in.
Can we see – is Marlon Klein still there?
Marlon Klein, Michigan? Yeah, he's
here. I like his blocking potential.
The other thing, too, and I'll say this for the weapons, we got to start thinking about what Mike McDaniel likes as well, right? Now, tight ends and depth at tight end might help him. Any of those guys could help him too. But I also think about speed at both running back and receiver as well, which is why Thompson jumps out. Maybe even a Justin Jolie jumps out to him.
Could, but the chat is shouting out that Bud Clark is there. They do have a safety need.
Oh, and he can play all over the place too.
So him and R.J. Mickens, I kind of like the idea of those two guys.
The versatility of Clark back there, and I mean with Derwin James, that I can live with that, because you talk about if they're not going to re-sign Tony Jefferson, Bud Clark does kind of make a lot of sense.
All right, let's take Bud Clark.
All right, I'm in on that. Secondary's getting better. All right, one more pick. Here we go.
All right,
all the way down to 203. I don't think we've gotten in this range of the draft yet. Let's just see what names are on the board.
We have not. Bo Stevens is going to be long gone, sadly.
He's gone.
Oh, Cole Wisniewski, good player.
Good player. Red Murdoch, good player.
Red Murdoch, good player. Awesome. I mean, he forced a lot of fumbles.
All right, couple of guys I look at again offensively.
Okay.
Xavion Thomas for the sake of speed and return ability.
Okay.
Oscar Delp for still trying to find his full potential at tight end. Or 3, maybe a pass-catching back like a Desmond Reed. Throw him in there with Hampton and Vidal, have all the early down and all that work in the run game.
I don't hate that.
I actually think I would go Reed over Thomas in this situation, because Reed gives you more as the scat back in the backfield, and he will surely remind people in L.A. of Darren Sproles.
Let me see all the running backs, because I like this thought process here, like whether it's Reed or maybe somebody else.
Henry, Hemby. I do like Roman Hemby. I think he could go before that, but I think he's a bit redundant to what they already have.
Henry Jr. was really nice at the Shrine Bowl. I was very impressed with him.
I was surprised. I think he ran a 4.5, was it? I think at the Combine. I was surprised he ran, because he looked faster than that on tape.
I know. I think he is faster than that on tape. All right, we'll go Desmond Reed. I think Desmond Reed's the best option for kind of what you're talking about here. Unless Eli, how do you say his last name?
Heidenreich?
Heinrich, yeah. He's also a potential like receiving backfield option, but he's like a tight end, fullback, running back, Swiss Army knife type of a player. So
yeah.
I like him, though. I do like him.
Navy's all-time leading receiver, fun fact.
Really?
Yep. Fun title. Oh, one of the highest for, I think, the last 3 years, one of the highest graded players at any position.
I've
in
noticed
college
that.
football.
Yeah,
No.
I would absolutely believe that.
Navy's all-time leading receiver, Heidenreich. I watching him, I think he might have to carve out more of a role in the slot, or I don't really, because he played, it says fullback there because we don't really have like a wingback sort of title, but he played that wingback in Navy's offense, so it's kind of hard to define his role in the end. He is good. It's just we don't have wingback in the system, so I don't really know what to do with him because he doesn't have really any traditional like backfield touches to him. So it's kind of weird.
Somebody in the chat, very brilliant for this. I said Swiss Army knife. He said Swiss Navy knife.
Yeah. Come on, Trev. Yeah. Come on now. These are the things you can't mix up now. That's true. That's just can't cross branches like that.
I would take Desmond Reed.
Let's go Desmond Reed. We're gonna hunt for another Darren Sproles here with Desmond Reed. And look at that backfield. Now Hampton and Vidal and Reed. I don't hate that one bit.
No.
All right, let's see. A plus draft, right? It has to be.
Gotta be.
We got an A- and an A yesterday. I felt pretty good about that.
We got to keep it alive. Come on.
Absolutely.
Come on. Did we overdraft anybody? I don't know. We might have. B plus.
See, I disagree on Reed. I think we got him right where we should have.
I think it's just because running back's not listed as a need at all for the Chargers. But given the way that you talked about it, I agree. We'll bump that up, and then it goes right to an A- if we bump that one up.
It's an A- in our hearts. I won't go solid A. You got to earn those. But an A-, you can cheat your way to an A-. I've done it.
Yeah. Indicting himself here, folks. Our game plan of the week presented by Western Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. You know what? That mock draft, there it is. That's the game plan of the week. That's what I'm going with there. That's absolutely the game plan of the week, how the Chargers can get a lot better. And they really need to continue to emphasize on both wide receiver and the offensive line group, and we gave you a path to be able to do that. So however they can do that, that's the game plan of the week. Just like every team win starts with a great game plan, your future should as well. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect you and your family so you can focus on winning today, knowing that tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out building your dynasty or looking to lock in long-term protection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote and start building your financial game plan today. Western and Southern, built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most. All right. You wrote this in the sheet. Thought this was very interesting. 3 teams have yet to sign or acquire an external player. It's the Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Any thoughts overall on those 3, or specifically with one of those teams?
I think the least surprising one is Jacksonville, just because they are low-key kind of cash-strapped. And I know the biggest story, obviously, has been a potential Brian Thomas Jr. trade. I think that still might be something to monitor. But I am surprised between Denver and Seattle that they really haven't attacked free agency at all, because these are 2 teams with a good amount of cap space, and they're obviously, right now, Seattle was the Super Bowl champion. Denver, I think, considers themselves an inner circle contender. Re-signing J.K. Dobbins, I think, helps them. I would have rather have seen them make a real run at Kenneth Walker, but obviously we're maybe outbid by Kansas City. And Seattle, we've talked about this on the first couple of shows. Losing Kenneth Walker, losing Kobe Bryant, Riq Woolen goes. They get to keep Josh Jobe, I think was a pretty good value there. But Seattle doing nothing is maybe the most surprising to me, because I would think that a team in their position with that much cap space would want to make a push, maybe to try to do it again, right? Win another championship, or they're going to have to compete in maybe the toughest division in football with the LA Rams, who have made a bunch of moves that have helped them, and then San Francisco as well, who's still really good. But I think that's a big story when you talk about at least these 3 teams. That's the biggest one for me, is just the relative inactivity of Seattle to fill some of their holes. Now, I think the safety issue can get fixed, right? It's a really good draft for safeties, but running back mainly. I just don't know what the solution is there at running back, with Charbonnet coming off a knee injury, Kenneth Walker leaving, and not much else behind that, and a team that ran the football at the second highest rate in the league this past year, and it won them a trophy. I'm not really sure what the philosophy is on that. It's just got to be a positional value thing, that they value, again, receivers and corners more so than running backs and safeties. Rashid Shaheed also got $17 million a year over 3 years. But I think that's the interesting story of these 3, is Seattle just not really doing anything to add to their team. Lost Boye Mafe also, which is not a small loss as well. So curious to see between the draft and maybe some future smaller moves here, what goes on with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised that we haven't seen more from the Seahawks, especially when it came to not re-signing their own guys. Actually, I may have worded that wrong. They had a lot of money to spend, but I always felt as though if Seattle was going to spend most of it, it was going to be on the guys that were on the team for the Super Bowl run. Like it would have been Kobe Bryant, it would have been well, they brought back Josh Jobe, and so like that one there, but it would have been, Kobe Bryant and Kenneth Walker, I thought were the two big ones. It felt like they were okay letting Boye Mafe walk. It felt like they were okay letting Rashid Shaheed walk. It felt like they were okay letting Riq Woolen walk. Now they brought back Rashid Shaheed, but I mean, Dalton, when you look at this team, this is the same team that won the Super Bowl. Right. I mean, like, again, like outside of Bryant, who I don't think is just like, who cares? We lost Kobe Bryant. I think it was a big deal for them with their safety rotation and what they want to do. But I think they'll have an opportunity to draft both a pass rusher and a safety secondary player in a pretty decent draft for both of those positions. I think you can get a long-term wide receiver as well, but they already have Torrey Horton, too, who I think can take a step up in playing time this upcoming season. Running back, okay, we're thinking about probably drafting a running back too. The running back room is not going to be as dynamic as it was last year. You're right. I think it's going to be an issue for them, but I didn't really expect Seattle to be this team where they were acquiring a lot of outside players. To me, if they were going to be big spenders, it was going to be on the players that they had on their team. And if you want me to be honest, I feel as though the only maybe real big regret they might have at this point is Kenneth Walker. And we talked about that yesterday, about how it's kind of funny that they're giving Rashid Shaheed more than they were going to be giving Kenneth Walker, or at least what he signed for in Kansas City. Maybe he wanted to change of scenery, but if you're giving that exact amount of average money per year to Kenneth Walker that you gave to Rashid Shaheed, he's probably still a Seahawk. And I would tell you that that matters more. But maybe there's an offensive philosophy change, obviously, with Clint Kubiak now no longer there. But most of that team is pretty much the same team as the one that was the best in the NFL last season. And so I feel as though they probably looked at the market. They looked at the value for certain players above replacement, as well as above sort of what their draft options could be. And they were okay saying, hey, we'll try to bring a lot of our guys back, and if we don't, that's okay. We'll have a lot of money in cap space to work with next year, just kind of like I talked about with the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree on all of that. I mean, you talk about, I'm with you. I think running back is the biggest concern because they're obviously not in position to take the one prime running back in this draft in Jeremiah Love, and they're going to have to figure that out probably in round 3 and beyond because it's just not the most top-end talented running back class that we have. But I think otherwise you look at some things they could improve. I think a new starter at right guard could be in play, and then depth off of the edge and in the secondary on defense. Mike McDonald's always going to look to build depth and get a rotation going to those guys, and even with signing Josh Jobe, I think they're going to continue to look for depth at corner, but no, I'm not worried necessarily about their defense. They're going to find pieces to replace Bryant and Woolen and even Mafe in a really good defensive draft. I think offensively, again, in the run game is where I'd have a little more concern because the idea was creating those explosive runs, and I just don't think they have I don't think there's any options on the table right now, barring something drastic and unforeseen. They don't have any options to replace Walker with a player probably nearly as good as he was this past year and really as he's been throughout his career when he's healthy.
Somebody said something in the chat that I wanted to hit on. Oh, Connor gave us a $5 super chat. Who's a realistic pick for the Indianapolis Colts at number 47? Obviously, it's going to be defense, but who will be there that will make an honest difference? Pull up the big board.
An honest difference. Now we're getting
an honest difference.
An honest difference.
Not like an unethical difference.
Oh wow. Not like cheating to an A-.
Well, not like cheating to an A- either. Yeah. Which we would never do. Well, you might.
We wouldn't.
Yeah, we wouldn't do that.
All right, so let's think about this. I look at their front seven. I mean, I absolutely look at their front seven, and I mean, I'm just looking at players here. 47. I ran the mock sim on my screen just to see what would jump up to me. Jacob Rodriguez, if he gets that far into the second round, I think absolutely. R. Mason Thomas makes a lot of sense to apply more pressure on the other side of Leatu Latu. Gabe Akis, the D lineman from Illinois. It depends, too, with the edge rushers, how much faith they're going to have in JT Tuimoloau after drafting him in the second round last year. Pretty quiet rookie year for him.
I got to imagine they've got to have good faith in him still.
I would think, right? But they
need
need
rookie season.
They need more depth. They need more depth.
He was always going to play behind
regardless.
Kwity Paye and Latu last year. So
assuming they lose Nick Cross, maybe an AJ Halsey from LSU safety.
Yeah. I like that.
I think honestly, there's going to be plenty of players because that's the strength of this defense. The middle, I should say, the strength of the draft. The middle of their defense, anywhere depth on the D line. They don't have any starting linebackers right now. They got nothing at linebacker. To me, I'm looking at a board right now just simulated through. Jacob Rodriguez or Jake Golday would not shock me at all if either of those players is a Colt at 47. And I'm going to throw the other scenario out there. Just one more, even though they need all the defensive help.
All right.
Didn't get to them in this simulation. But the more and more moves I see from a lot of these teams, from the Jets, from the Cardinals, from the Rams with their McDuffie trade, how far is Ty Simpson falling? And would we think about in Indianapolis a Ty Simpson to sit behind Daniel Jones, if only for 1 year? Cut ties with Anthony Richardson. Riley Leonard hangs around as a 6th-rounder. If Ty Simpson were to fall all the way to 47, would that be a thought to try to go from Jones to, okay, you're a $50 million bridge into Ty Simpson with Shane Steichen and a pretty solid supporting cast? Because I'm looking
at Ty on the Colts.
I do too.
Independently,
if he can get there.
I just don't. But I don't even think, like you're saying, if he gets there to 47, I don't even know if the Colts want to, because we just talked about at the top of the show how the Colts are sort of an imperfect team anyways. Like they need to get better even just for this year. So I like the fit. I like the shout out by you. I just don't know if they'd do it. I don't know if they'd use 47 on him.
Otherwise, it's got to me, maybe there's a receiver that they like to replace Pittman. I see, for me here on the board, is a Chris Brazzell, an outside vertical threat, although you kind of already have that with Pierce, but somebody at receiver that could help you out as well. But
Elijah Surratt, baby.
That's a good call, actually. Elijah Surratt kind of does have the same play style as Pittman, doesn't he?
As Pittman.
That's a good call. But I think a couple of the guys, again, that stick out to me here, Jacob Rodriguez, R. Mason Thomas, if he gets there, Gabe Akis, AJ Halsey, the middle of their defense needs so much work, or it's going to be a big problem come the season.
We do have a signing that just happened.
Oh, for the Colts?
Former Jets defensive lineman Michael Clemens.
Oh, he's in Tennessee. Tell me he's in Tennessee. Please tell me it's Tennessee.
Same division.
Oh.
It is the Colts.
It's the Colts. Okay. I thought I was about to just go absolutely nuts if he signed in Tennessee. I would have told the guys to pull up the bouncer graphic that I made last night.
I need everybody who's watching this show to understand how many times over the last 48 hours Dalton has brought up Michael Clemens being a lock for the Tennessee Titans.
I'm actually shocked. He must, now that he's gone to the Colts, he must have some sort of beef with Robert Saleh. No question about it. There's got to be a beef there now. It's the only way this didn't happen is if there's a beef. Unbelievable. Trev, I actually probably would have just gone crazy had he signed with Tennessee. Wow.
Does this really change anything for them? I don't think a ton. It's decent depth, but
no, they need starters.
Yeah, they were losing Chris Wormley, Samson Ebukam, Tyquan Lewis. Those guys are all free agents. We talked about how JT Tuimoloau could be stepping into a starting role. They did sign Arden Key as well.
He got 3 years.
Colby Wooden.
He got 3 years and 17 and a half.
Yeah.
He's getting almost $6 million a year. So, they've added Arden Key and Michael Clemens with JT and Latu now. So they're probably, that first pick probably now won't be an edge player. They're at 47. I think they're going to live with that group that they have. So you're talking now D tackle, Dominique Orange, somebody like that. But I think linebacker would be if Jacob Rodriguez gets to 47, the Colts better.
Yeah, I think that's probably the answer.
Yeah.
We got another $5 super chat. Am I crazy for thinking Buffalo should still consider wide receiver in round 1 post DJ Moore trade, depending on who is available? You're only crazy because of what they traded for him. You can't. I wouldn't say you can't, because this league surprises me all the time, but if you traded a second-round pick, which is probably at least 1, maybe 2-round overpay for DJ Moore, and also now you are paying his contract, and you would also use a round 1 investment on a wide receiver after using one on Keon Coleman, that'd be tough. That would be really tough.
I'm not
for Buffalo.
Since they've made this trade, I'm with you. I am not a fan at all of the Bills taking a receiver with that first pick. To me, they're going to do two things. It's either take the best defensive player on their board, or they're going to trade down. I think they're a prime trade down candidate. And if they trade down and they get multiple picks and they take a receiver on day 2, then fine. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I think about somebody like a Chris Brazzell, or I don't think Malachi Fields would work because that's the same thing as Keon Coleman. But maybe somebody who can help them after the catch or what have you. Either way, to me, this is the time to build this defense. You made the DJ Moore trade to try to make him your number one guy and see if he can bounce back after a tough year. They got to build this defense. Either take the best defensive player on your board or trade back and get multiple defensive at all 3 levels: D tackle, linebacker, safety. They got to fix all 3 of those positions right now. So I'm not a fan of them taking receiver in round 1. I don't think they should do it now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I could not consider wide receiver for them at all. Josh gave us a $5 super chat, said, should the Seahawks go after Max Crosby and Alvin Kamara? I mean, I don't think they're going to go after Max Crosby. Although they do have the salary cap for it, right?
It would be freakish, but they could do it. I don't know. There's been rumors that Kamara, especially with the ETN contract that got given in New Orleans, there's rumors that Kamara might actually think about retiring.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Kamara is, didn't he say last trade deadline?
Oh, he won't play anywhere else.
Yeah, like in October, he's like, yeah, if you trade me, I'm just going to Cancun.
I was going to say, wasn't that the tweet? It was like NOLA or Cancun or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, I'm either playing in New Orleans or my feet's in the sand somewhere. Like, I'm not playing anywhere else. So I think a lot of people who want Alvin Kamara, now obviously there's plenty of things, money talks, opportunity talks, he could change his mind, but it sure sounded like if he's not playing in New Orleans, he's not playing in the NFL when the trade deadline was looming last October or November, whenever the trade deadline was. Crosby, though, that'd be pretty diabolical, actually.
Oh,
they could do it. They've got $39 million in cap space to work with, and if they're done with free agents, if they're done with their own guys, I mean, you're picking 32, so you could give up a first round pick pretty easily because you're picking at the back end of the first round.
You can solve running back in secondary later in this draft. All right, we've got 2 galaxy-brained options for Max Crosby right now: Seattle and Detroit. Let it be known that we had the idea first.
Yeah, I like the Detroit one a little bit better, but the Seattle one is pretty diabolical here. Some guys who are still available in free agency. Rasheed Walker is still available.
Starting caliber tackle still out there.
I know.
Strange.
Very, very strange. Juwan Jennings, Joey Bosa, DJ Reader, Kyler Murray, obviously. I feel like Kyler Murray's situation will get remedied pretty soon here at 4 p.m. Eastern when the league year turns. Kirk Cousins, Bobby Wagner, Cam Jordan, Kevin Zeitler, we talked about a little bit earlier today. Safety Kevin Byard as well. I think the most surprising to me that's still available is Rasheed Walker.
Yeah, I would agree. Considering the needs that a handful of teams have at tackle, especially at left tackle. The Browns might not. The obvious one is them, but I don't think they're going to do it now, considering that they have, what is it now? Titus Walker, Zion Johnson, Elgton Jenkins they spent money on. They re-signed Tevin Jenkins. It sure feels like the Browns with one of those first 2 picks. Not that we didn't know this already, but they're going to take a tackle in the first round with one of those picks.
Who will?
The Browns.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at Rasheed Walker, he might, considering there's a lot of team situations, they might have a better shot at signing Walker if he's willing to move over to the right side. I'm just surprised. A 26-year-old okay starter at tackle. Maybe it's the price tag. Maybe that's what it is. But
yeah, maybe he wants too much money. But
I think you're going to get some good deals on some veteran offensive linemen. Him and Taylor Decker are the 2 guys that stick out to me. They're going to be playing somewhere.
Yeah, wait, who's playing left tackle in Detroit?
Right now, nobody.
Giovanni Manu. Yeah, I mean,
I stand correct.
Unless Detroit got a good look at Rasheed Walker 2 times a year and was like, nah, we're good. I feel like he's a good fit for Detroit.
Sure. I still think that's probably locked in right now. That's also a first round conversation with them. Thinking off the top of my head here. Cleveland sticks out, but I don't know that they'll do it.
The Panthers, we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, you know what? Carolina might be the best fit. If Walker somehow out of this were to get, and he should get more, but if he were to get a similar-ish one-year deal as Braxton Jones got, I think Carolina should absolutely do that.
The longer this goes on, the more likely I think it is that the Panthers could get involved for Rasheed Walker.
I think they should. If it was 1 year and even a little more, say 1 year and 12 or 13 million, they should do it.
Right.
Like they cannot take chances with Bryce Young back there. They got a hole at left tackle and center right now, and they signed some depth guys. I think it was Luke Fortner at center and Stone Forsythe at left tackle, but that doesn't make me feel better about the starting situation, either of them.
Panthers signed Stone Forsythe?
Yeah. I think last night for something like $4 million.
Yeah, that doesn't...
That doesn't move the needle, right?
No.
So I think it's Luke Fortner, maybe. He's had a decent second half of the year for the Saints, and maybe they start him at center, but they're not going to walk in with their left tackle situation the way it is right now. If you were talking 1 year and $12 million, yeah, I'd sprint that in if I'm the Panthers. Absolutely.
Where's Calais Campbell going? Because he didn't retire.
I mean, he's already been on 12 different teams already.
I know, and I feel like I'd still like Calais Campbell.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, legitimately any team. How about Cam Jordan sitting there too? We're gonna get a 1 year deal. I'll tell you what. There's been some weird ones. It's gonna look really weird if Cam Jordan's playing anywhere other than New Orleans.
Well, clearly he is because he wants to play. I mean, he's not going back to New Orleans.
Maybe darn near as weird as the Mike Evans leaving Tampa deal. I mean, that's going to look weird seeing Cam Jordan in another uniform.
Anyway. Somebody in the chat is saying Walker to the Browns, 2 years, $24 million. Is that a report? Or is that that's what somebody would like to happen? There's no way our time could be
Are we sure that's not producer Tyler just throwing in his burner there in the chat?
It might be actually.
Oh boy, I don't see. I feel like we would have seen something about that. I mean,
yeah, I feel like that too.
I mean, it would just the Browns would just be spending all the money as they have been on their offensive line, which I get. If they've gotten a lot better on the offensive line than they've had last year, but it's not saying a whole lot.
Where do we think Jaquan Brisker goes? So we got Brisker. Kevin Byard's out there.
Jaquan Brisker. I still think, depending on price tag, I still think Byard could go back to the Bears and play with Kobe Bryant. That wouldn't shock me.
Brisker would be great for the Seahawks.
Seahawks would work. Either one would work. Well, I think Julian Love and Kevin Byard are kind of similar.
Brisker would work. I think Brisker would make more sense than Byard.
Am I right in thinking? Just thinking connections here, as always. Is Matt Eberflus is in some sort of assistant now in San Francisco? Could they go get Jaquan Brisker in San Fran? That could be a thing, right? Because I know you've mentioned
the safety need for the Niners is interesting because like they have Jair Brown, they have who's the other one? Malik Mustafa.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, so they've already got hammers back there, and
right, and that's why it's like that could like that's a Kevin Byard one if Kevin Byard is on their radar at all whatsoever. If they're thinking about spending money for veteran safeties, like that's more of the style that they would go with.
Jaquan Brisker. Who else has the safety need? I mean, the Colts. If Nick Cross is leaving, the Colts are going to need somebody back there. The Jets signed Dane Belton. I think if they're going anything, they're going to wait and if Caleb Downs ever dropped to 16. Sorry, I'm just fantasizing right now. What else? Who else? Dolphins, because the Dolphins need secondary. They need anybody with a pulse in their secondary. Maybe Jeff Hafley goes and says, Jaquan Brisker, why not?
By the way, Josh Uche, 1 year deal with the Miami Dolphins.
All right.
We didn't hit on that, but
they need pass rushers with a pulse as well. Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right.
KJ Britt, 1 year deal with the Patriots. I'm just kind of like getting caught up on some of the recent lesser transactions that we had here. Some of these 1 year deals.
Jaquan. See, the thing with Brisker and Byard is, and it's a little surprising that Nick Cross hasn't been signed yet. It feels like Nick Cross, from all the talk of it, is the guy that's going to get signed before them. Because I think he's still only 24 years old.
I like Nick Cross.
Oh, he's gotten better. Absolutely, he's gotten better the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree.
We'll see. Some odd names there that I think are still available. Obviously, the news later today is going to be... Actually, the one, before I get to that, I'm surprised nobody's. We have heard nothing about Dallas Goedert. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah.
For as many teams as could use a two-way tight end like that. We've heard not. I haven't heard a whisper in 3 days about Dallas Goedert. Nothing.
Interesting.
Like, why would Denver not go sign Dallas? I know they re-signed Adam Troutman, but why would Denver not go get Dallas Goedert? Just go do it.
What's Denver's tight end room look like? They still have Evan Ingram.
Yeah,
so that's probably why.
Yeah, I would flip that.
Yeah, of course,
yeah.
but what's Ingram's contract?
What's another Dallas Goedert landing spot? Go to Washington and play with Zach Ertz again? That'd be fun.
He's on the last year of his deal. Ooh, he's $14 million on the cap this year. Evan Ingram is.
Ooh, that's tough. Considering the Broncos tight ends were last in receiving grade last year, that's kind of tough.
You don't get a ton of flexibility even if you cut him June 1. He's kind of their guy. I think he's kind of just their guy. I think it's him and Troutman.
Ravens? Put him with Mark Andrews? Dallas Goedert's got to get somewhere. It's just I actually don't. I can't believe if he's not signed. I haven't heard anything. It seems odd. That feels odd to me. It feels wrong. Dallas Goedert's too good for that. Travis Kelce's going back to the Chiefs. That's been made official.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Dallas Goedert destinations here. Commanders?
Baltimore. Yeah, play with Zach Ertz again. Why not?
Was Zach Ertz coming back? Isn't he a free agent?
Oh, well, we tried.
And what was his injury at the end of the year? It was bad.
Oh, I have one. All right, nope, I have one. Let's do this because we don't know what's going to happen this year. San Francisco. Give him a 1-year deal to be the George Kittle filler.
Oh, yeah, that is a good one.
I don't hate that.
Man, what a crazy division. I'm just looking at it from last year. Seattle, 14 wins. Rams, 12 wins. Niners, 12 wins. Cardinals, 3 wins.
Good players, most of them.
Somebody's got to lose.
Somebody's got to lose. That's tough.
That's how it goes.
They're also going to lose Kyler Murray at 4 o'clock. That'll be the big story later.
That's true.
All eyes on Minnesota, I'm sure.
I know. It just feels like it's foregone that he's a Viking.
How about it? What a situation there in Minnesota. A lot of cuts they've made. I think the only player that they've signed is James Pierre, but not much else going on there in Minnesota right now. Got a hole at running back, got the hole at quarterback.
Eerily quiet for sure.
Ryan Kelly retired. They need a center. Yeah, Minnesota quietly all of a sudden has a lot of needs. And supposedly Jonathan Grenard's on the trade block. That's another thing that, we've been talking so much about Crosby and Hendrickson, but Grenard might be a really good option for somebody.
Yeah, who's going to trade for Grenard? See, the Grenard one is very interesting because I don't think the Vikings would want to move on from him for less than a second round type of a pick, right?
Who could give a second round pick for?
But Jonathan if somebody's trading for him, I don't know if they're good, especially coming off the injury. Like I don't think they're going to get a second round pick for him.
They could from the right team. I mean, the obvious one is in their own division with Bears, but I don't know if they trade him in division. Chiefs might think about it. Although I don't know if you saw the report also that if something were to happen with Trent Williams and San Fran splitting, that apparently the Chiefs would be at the front of the line for him. Which, well, all of a sudden...
Wait, what did you just say? Sorry, I was reading something.
If Trent Williams and San Fran were to split, there's a report that the Chiefs would be right at the front of the line to try to get him.
Trent Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah, them and 31 other NFL teams.
Well, sure, but you get to play with Patrick Mahomes. Can you imagine just Trent Williams blocking for Kenneth Walker now all of a sudden? In Kansas City, no less. I mean, of course. They're trying to fix it, man, in KC. They're trying to get back to the top.
Sounds like an ideal situation.
It's an idea.
It is an idea.
Who's given a second-round pick for Jonathan Grenard? Screw it, Baltimore. Why not? They still have draft capital. Do it. Trey and Grenard. Let's just get it. We need pass rush. Let's do it.
I don't think that they would do it.
Tampa?
Again, I wonder if the Lions
Wait, why not
would.
the Bucks?
Sure, man.
That might be the most likely one.
I don't know if the Bucks are doing anything, though. I don't know. I don't know.
Just asleep at the wheel, huh?
It feels, no, I won't say that, but like the Bucs are now all of a sudden in a very weird situation, right? Very weird situation. Your franchise superstar, who is supposed to be a Hall of Famer front to back playing for one team, just basically publicly said, nope, I don't believe in you anymore. That's a really weird place to be as a franchise, especially when your head coach, you're going to be, now obviously them trading for somebody is different than them signing somebody, but your head coach has probably the hottest seat in the NFL going into, well, no, probably Aaron Glenn's is probably hotter, but Todd Bowles has one of the hottest seats in the NFL before the games even get kicked off before next season. What player is going to want to sign up for that? Especially when a franchise legend didn't want to. So I think Tampa's in a really, really weird spot, especially because what's Baker Mayfield's contract as well? I think Baker's up after this year.
Is it one more year? I think that's correct.
I think he has. I think he's going into a contract year because people were talking about. Oh. Yeah, he is a free agent in 2027. So you're in a spot where, like, if things don't go well in Tampa, I mean, they could be cleaning house of quite literally everybody. So I wonder if the Glazers, their owners, are even willing to pay a lot for certain players to come into the team, given the fact that there might be some uncertainty there. I don't know. I think that Tampa's in a really weird spot right now, given the fact that Mike Evans decided to not play for them. Right. It's a really weird look on the team and where they're currently at.
So some teams I like for Grenard then, because I was just thinking about it as you were going through that. Detroit and Chicago, but I don't know that they would trade him in division. Actually, Green Bay, probably all three of them, but I don't know if they would trade him in division. Tampa, but you just mentioned what that situation is. Philly, I think Philly makes a lot of sense, losing Jalen Phillips. San Fran, you know where I'm at with their pass rush. And Seattle, we'll bring up Seattle again. What if they threw Minnesota a second-round pick for Jonathan Grenard? I'd be in on it.
Who was that last team?
Seattle. We just want Seattle to do everything, apparently.
Well,
just
it's
do
fun.
everything. Just trade up from 32 to 3 and draft Jeremiah Love. Just do it.
That's fun.
Why not?
Walt in the chat saying that he thinks the Bucs could still trade for Max Crosby. I just don't. I mean, maybe.
They're at this weird. They are at a very weird crossroads. What is it? Their 15th year in a row with a different offensive coordinator.
Not quite, but
feels like it.
But feels like it.
Boy, oh boy.
Trevor with a $5 super chat. Not me. Different one. Spelled differently.
Oh, you're not just
throwing money out there. Why trade a pick for Grenard when Bradley Chubb is still out there? Bradley Chubb also not a peep.
Not a peep.
A lot of talk about him at the trade deadline. Not a peep.
Whole lot of nothing. Injured in 2024. Not great for the Dolphins last year.
Yeah, nobody was though, right?
Right. I mean, it makes sense if you think you can get the prime Bradley Chubb out of him. Then I think it makes sense. Sure. Again, it depends on asking price too. We've seen it with Crosby. We've seen it with Trey on the free agent side. Like edge rushers, they cost because there's not many skills more valuable than rushing a passer. That's for sure. But I think it makes. I mean, there's still some solid veteran edge rushers out there too now.
What's the most likely market for Deebo Samuel?
The Tennessee Titans.
You think?
Sure.
You're saying that just because of the Robert Saleh connection?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Listen, you want to get in, just talk to the bouncer. I'm telling you. Jawan Jennings too. I'm still legitimate. The most shocking thing we've seen the last 2 hours is Michael Clemens not going to and going in division, not going to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Shocked. I can't even tell you. I wasn't prepared for this at all. There's got to be a beef.
You are shook.
I'm very. There's got to be a beef. I'm telling you right now. Has to be.
Somebody's asking who are your surprise cuts at 4:00?
Oh,
surprise cuts?
I thought it's not a cut. I think it's a trade that I don't know if it can be official, but I'm a little surprised that the Packers, expensive as it was, that they really jumped ship on Rashawn Gary. And somebody hacked his Instagram, of course.
I'm not.
I just think because we haven't seen them do anything else to improve their pass rush, and they don't have a first-round pick. I mean, they need to do something up front. They've got to get better on their defensive line because if it's just Micah Parsons again, I mean, all he's got to do is turn an ankle and your pass rush is non-existent. We just saw that this past year.
Oh, Dan gave us a $2 super chat. Said any new Jets free agent predictions for us this week?
New ones? Well, they've done a lot already.
I don't know how much more they're going to do. A lot of new defensive additions for them. They were pretty active over the last couple of days, specifically, obviously, with Geno.
I'm trying to think of a name. They could add some like ancillary wide receiver depth, maybe. You've got Wilson, you've got Mitchell. I'm blanking on his name. Who's the receiver they drafted from Georgia?
Who?
The kid they just drafted from Georgia that had the drop issues. I'm blanking on his name right now. I can't think of it. We saw him at the Senior Bowl last year.
Oh,
wow, why am I doing this right now?
Yeah,
I cannot think of it. I'll get it in a second. But they might sign some ancillary receiver depth. I think if they get a good deal on a starting caliber left guard, I think they could fill that spot. Maybe just so
Arian Smith, by the way.
Arian Smith, thank you. I could not I was like, who's the kid they drafted 4th round from Georgia? They could draft some more receiver depth, maybe tight end depth behind Mason Taylor. I think guard is the spot really to watch. Is that seems like kind of the hole right now, so they don't go into the draft with a desperate need. And if they don't fill it with a starter, then I think one of Ioane or Pregnon or Basantis is absolutely a Jet in the draft. But I think the bulk of it is probably done, other than maybe more help on the offensive line.
Somebody in the chat said some Browns fans out here wanting Barry to trade for Max Crosby.
I mean, you listen. You want to try to win every game 8-6.
Can he play O-line? Can he play on the O-line?
Hold up now. Wait a minute.
Yeah, what?
If we get the meniscus stable enough to play left tackle, I might be in on it.
Then the Ravens are back in. All of a sudden they're back in.
Then they're back in.
Do we have any other... Oh. J32 is saying, do you think that the Panthers are done in free agency? Wondering if I could get back to my job, LOL, instead of, just slamming refresh on the timeline. We talked about Rasheed Walker as a potential addition for the Carolina Panthers. I think that one makes the most sense of the guys that are still out there. I think they spent a lot of money on Phillips and Lloyd. So other than those two guys, I can't imagine that they're going to spend a ton of money on anything that's not an offensive tackle after this.
Yeah, I agree. I think offensive tackle, there's not a ton of starting center options left, too. They still need a center, but I think the offensive line is going to be the concern. I think, like we talked about yesterday, depth on the defensive line can be had in this draft, especially at D tackle. Also, I think defensively they're looking at depth now, right? They're just looking to add more to it, but I think that'll be young talent. Offensive line is definitely the most pressing thing. If they got a good deal on Rasheed Walker and he could start for them on a 1-year contract, I think that'd be a great sign. I got to see what even centers are remaining, or that might be a...
Yeah, actually, I don't even know which centers are left.
I mean, I guess they got Luke. Maybe they won't look for another center in free agency. They got Luke Fortner, and if they had to start him, I think they would start him.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, they got Luke Fortner, who played a decent football for the Saints, filling in for McCoy. So Fortner, if they're going to get another center, they're going to draft one. Yeah, left tackle then is the big thing. Rasheed Walker. Oh, boy, the options are slim here.
For tackles?
Rasheed Walker, Taylor Decker.
Jawan Taylor.
If you want to move him back over. Josh Nijman, they still haven't re-signed.
But yeah.
Cam Robinson's always available. Yeah, and they signed Stone Forsythe.
Taylor Decker actually could be an interesting option. I do agree with the chat.
I don't hate that at all. I do wonder if Decker might...
Because you could get Decker for a 1-year deal, I think.
Yeah.
And that's key. You just really want to sign somebody for a 1-year deal if you're Carolina.
The question is he trying to go to a Super Bowl contender? I know Carolina won their division, so I'm going to be in hot water now for saying that. But
that's true. You should be.
Could Taylor Decker go to a Green Bay if they want to just leave Jordan Morgan inside or if Trent Williams were to get traded, is a Walker or a Decker an option for San Francisco? So all of a sudden you have a gaping hole if Trent Williams is gone. There's I wonder if that's the case too. is if one of these guys might be looking to go to San Fran and waiting out this Trent Williams situation. Because that's a huge deal.
You think just that's why the tackle market isn't moving right now?
Those are the two guys left at the top, really. And they're the two starting, really true starting caliber guys that can play on the left side that we know of. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they're just waiting to see what happens with Trent and go from there. And if one of them ends up in if Rasheed Walker ends up with Shanahan in San Francisco, I think he'd feel pretty good about it.
Ooh, somebody pointed out that. Well, the chat's asking about Drake Greenlaw, like Drake Greenlaw's value after getting cut.
Oh, he's going to Tennessee. What do you mean? This is
what
Stone Cold. Compliment is Cedric Gray, Cody Barton, Drake Greenlaw. Boom. It's done. It's already a done deal.
I wish you were more wrong than you are, but you're not. I think that actually Drake Greenlaw's most likely spot is indeed with the Tennessee Titans. Because it makes a lot of sense because you'll probably be able to get him pretty cheap.
Yeah, just didn't seem like that's actually I think an outcome I didn't expect there in Denver. They ended up keeping Alex Singleton and Justin Stranad, and I assume those are just going to be the two starters. We've talked a lot about them maybe going linebacker.
They have Drew Sanders too.
And they still have Drew Sanders, but we talked a lot about them going possibly linebacker early in the draft. They're not going to do it. You've got Singleton and Stranad that they're going to start, and Greenlaw's actually the one out of there. That might have been the opposite of what I thought was going to happen going into this.
Well, fully healthy, obviously, like Drake Greenlaw is a really good player, but since that Achilles tear, it just doesn't feel like he's been the same.
Yeah, he'll have a job. He'll have a job.
So with the bouncer.
With the bouncer, of course.
Anybody else? Anybody else we didn't touch on? Teams, players.
So many. There's always something.
I feel like we covered a lot.
Jets re-signed Max Mitchell. Kicker, Cade York. Special
nice.
Teams. You know it's big. You know kicker is big.
Nice. Needed that.
Got to have it. Can't kick field goals without a kicker, Trevor.
I wouldn't.
Some would say.
I wouldn't.
It's the kicker version of winnable games.
You can't kick field goals without a kicker.
You can't kick winnable field goals without winning field goals.
Without being able to kick winnable field goals.
Of course.
I think we hit a lot of the big names. I think we're just kind of now waiting for.
We're waiting on Kyler Murray, the official.
We're waiting on Kyler Murray, and I think when the new league year opens up at 4:00, also maybe a Trent Williams.
We're waiting on. You know, we're really waiting on Trey. We're waiting on Trey Hendrickson's physical. That's what we're waiting.
We are also waiting on Trey Hendrickson's physical. That is very true. Every time that the Ravens sign somebody, we're going to be on pins and needles now. You got to pass the physical. Tough test.
Who was the first? Who do we think was the first person that actually sat on pins and needles? Somebody had to have done it. What's the origin of that? And was it intentional?
Probably no.
It just seemed.
I gotta guess no.
Now that I think about it, it's an odd phrase that somebody would just willingly sit on pins and needles, both, as a matter of fact. It's very odd.
Yeah, normally one or the other.
Yeah, both is an odd habit. Anyway, take us away, Trevor.
We've gone too far. 4:00 is when the new league year opens up, and we will be back with you guys tomorrow at noon to discuss all of the moves that are going to be made when the new league year officially begins. Appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody behind the glass putting on the show. For Dalton, Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you once again for watching the PFF NFL show, and we will see you guys tomorrow at noon to discuss all the moves that are going to happen over the next 24 hours, including the most explosive ones that will happen minutes after we end the show. Appreciate everybody watching. See you tomorrow.